After a couple of weekends of European rugby, it's back to the bread and butter of the URC. Teams are going to be jostling for position going into the playoffs and also for qualification for next year's Heineken Cup. We've only got 2 rounds to go, and a lot is going to be decided over the next 2 sets of games. We're going to have a quick look at the table, and then we will go through each of the games a little bit individually. So, top of the table, you have Leinster there with 74 points in first place. There's no way they can be caught. And given that they have kept the bulk of their squad in Dublin preparing for that Champions Cup semi-final against Toulouse, and they've sent more of a development squad down to South Africa for the 2 games there. Stormers then in second place at the moment. Got Ulster though on 59 points, just 2 points behind, breathing down their necks. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top of that one. Glasgow now seem to be fairly safe there in 4th place and should have a home quarter final. Munster lost out against Glasgow last time they played in this competition, and they may actually be scrambling now for a point or 2 to guarantee their position in the playoffs. They got some difficult games coming up. Connacht in 6th place in really good form on 44 points. They had a raft of teams who can all make the knockout stages. We've got the Bulls in 7th on 43, just a point behind. 2 points back then, the Sharks in 8th place in the last position for the knockout stages at the moment. And for Heineken Cup qualification, it's currently 7th. The Bulls is the last spot there because Cardiff are the leading Welsh team and they will qualify for the Heineken Cup next year. But the Bulls will be sweating on the fact that both Benetton and Scarlets are in the semi-finals of the European Challenge Cup, and if either of those win that, they will qualify into next year's Heineken Cup, and it means that only 6 teams will qualify from the top 6 teams from league standings will qualify for that. Benetton at the moment in 9th place on 40 points, just outside the playoffs. Cardiff then a point back in 10th. The Lions a point back from them in 11th. Those are probably the teams with realistic chances of closing the gap on the likes of Connacht, the Bulls, and the Sharks, and maybe even Munster if they, have a bit of a disaster of a run in their last 2 games. Then we have the Ospreys in 12th and 35, Scarlets in 13th on 33, Edinburgh same amount of points down in 14th. Those 3 will probably have a little mini battle between them to see who's going to finish the highest. Dragons adrift there in 15th on 19 points, and Zebre rock bottom, no wins this season on 10 points. Now let's have a look at the matchups for round 17. So first up on Friday we have Sharks versus Benetton. So the Sharks, they've only won 2 of their last 7. They haven't won in the last 3. They're at home, so would hope to come over the top of Benetton. Benetton have won 4 of their last 7, but only 1 of the last 4, and haven't travelled very well this season. So I think we'll go for the Sharks in that one. But Benetton, if they do want to do well in the Challenge Cup, they will have to learn to perform away from home. Next then we have the Glasgow Warriors versus the Scarlets. So this is 4th versus 13th. Glasgow, I'd say pretty secure. A win here would, just kind of dot the I's and cross the T's on their home quarter final. They've won 6 of the last 7. Scarlets, though, have won 5 of the last 7, so they're in pretty good form themselves. But I think that they're, more realistic way of them qualifying for the Champions Cup next year is actually going for the win in the Challenge Cup, although it will be difficult to do that as well. Got to go for a home victory here. Glasgow are in too good form not to back them. Scarlets, as I said, they've been in decent form, but I still think that just home advantage and Glasgow probably behind Leinster are the team in form in the league at the minute. So yeah, Glasgow win there. Next then we have Ulster versus Dragons, so it's 3rd versus 15th. Ulster, they've won 4 of the last 7. Their form has really picked up recently. Dragons, they haven't won in a long time. They had that period where they seemed to be improving and then just fell off again. And recently, they haven't even been competitive in games, which is a little bit worrying for them. They're probably looking towards next season already, and therefore, I think Ulster are going to win this one pretty comfortably. The next matchup then into Saturday's games is the Bulls versus Zebre. It's 7th versus 16th. Bulls, they will be looking to climb the table and just make sure that they do have Heineken Cup rugby next year. They did really well to make the knockout stages this year, and they want to do have another go at it next year as well. So Bulls, though, they've only won 1 of the last 7. Zebre haven't won all season, so therefore, even though Bulls aren't in the best of form, I have to back them in this one. I think they will win this one fairly comfortably. Zebre will probably do their usual trick of, going well behind, scoring a few tries and looking like they're going to come back. But then the Bulls will pull away towards the end. Next then we have the Lions versus Leinster. So this is 11th versus 1st. Leinster, as I said, they won't be sending any of their frontline guys down there for the South African tour, which gives the Lions a chance in this one, just going on pure form. Lions, they've won 3 of the last 7, but those 3 have been in a row in the competition, so they're in some decent form. They have been better away from home this season than at home. They kind of struggled when they've been at home, but against a very weakened Leinster team. Leinster, they dropped their first points of the season with that draw against Stormers last time out, but they've been unbeaten all season, even though it is a depleted side. I don't think they're going to want to give up that unbeaten record, and therefore I'm backing Leinster to actually take this one out. Next then we have a game that has will have a big effect, I think, on how things are going to play out in terms of who finishes where in the top 8, and it is Stormers versus Munster. It's 2nd versus 5th. Munster realistically probably looking to just solidify that place in 5th and not really climb the table, but they just don't want to slide back. Similar with Stormers, they want to finish 2nd and have that home semi-final if they get there. With Ulster, breathing down the necks, and Ulster probably winning in this round, they'll want to do likewise. Stormers, they've won 4 of the last 7, had to draw against Leinster last time out as well. Munster have won 5 of the last 7, but looked really poor against Glasgow last time out, and that was at home. So therefore, I've got to back the Stormers in this one. I think home advantage is just going to be too much for Munster to overcome. But I think Munster probably will get something out of the game. They'll probably get a losing bonus point, or maybe even a try bonus point if it's a high-scoring game. That will help them to just keep hold of that 5th place. Next, then we have Edinburgh versus Ospreys. So this is 14th versus 12th. This is really just a scrap for position between these teams. Edinburgh, they will leapfrog Ospreys if they win. But Edinburgh have only won one of their last 7 games, so not really in great form. They started the season really well. Second half of the season has been something to forget for them. And again, probably another team looking towards next season. Ospreys have won 4 of the last 7, which is an improvement over their start of the season. But they have been patchy in the last, like they've only won 1 of the last 3. I'm going to go for Edinburgh to win this one, even though maybe logic says that Ospreys probably in the better form should take the game out. But I just think that Edinburgh, it's the last home game of the season, and I think that they will just produce something here to put a bit of gloss on what has been a poor second half of the season for them. Then the final game is Connacht versus Cardiff. So this is 6th versus 10th. Cardiff, one of those teams that kind of has a target on their back for the last while, in a position where a lot of teams want to get to, and because they are kind of I'd say like the top of that group of teams that could finish from anywhere from where they are at 6th down to 12th, that a lot of teams want to come over the top of them. But Connacht in very good form, won 5 of the last 7, and that's 5 in a row as well. Cardiff have won 3 of the last 7. They, probably will win the Welsh Shield, but a win here would probably guarantee that for them, because I don't think that Ospreys or Scarlets are going to win 2 from 2 in the last 2 rounds. So Cardiff probably just need a win to guarantee it, and probably not even that, depending on how other results go. But I have to go for a Connacht win here. They're on too good form not to back them in this one, and I think they'll probably, in usual Connacht style, make their fans a little bit worried at some point during the game, but actually come out with the win in the end. So that is the end of our preview for this weekend. I also have previews for the Women's Six Nations. You can go check those out on the channel. I will be covering URC and Women's Six Nations over the weekend, so we'll have match reviews for all the Women's Six Nations games and select URC games. And then at the start of next week, we will also have wrap-ups of the results from the URC from the weekend and where that has left the table as well. So look out for those videos coming today and over the weekend and into next week as well.